Thank you. Joining me now to discuss it, David Webb, radio talk show host and host of the David Webb Show on SiriusXM's Patriot Channel. Julie Roginski, Fox News contributor and former political advisor to Democratic Senator Frank Lautenberg. So Marcia Fudge has also said that 30% cut, that means 30% more of the people who are on SNAP now, the food stamps, will find themselves hungry. Children will not do well in schools. Parents will not know what to do with their children. And on she goes. All they want to do is cut out the waste that leads people to spend their food stamps on cigarettes. They do an end around to use that for liquor, we're told. And there was a report by our own Eric Shaw not long ago that talks about how they're, in some instances, converting it into cash, using it at casinos and strip clubs. How's that hurting the kids?
Well, you know, if the FAA sequester was still in place, you'd probably say planes are going to fall out of the sky, land on the kids on SNAP. First of all, there are two issues here that need to be put together and not separate. It's not a Republican or Democrat issue. We have an institutional issue with the waste and fraud and the lobbying, because to companies like J.P. Morgan and Xerox, this is worth hundreds of millions of dollars in EBT, transaction charges. There is also
the little card they give you.
The little card, the EBT card. They're the two largest processors of this. And this is why we have what is over a $74 billion nightmare. Then we have the American Beverage Association. You want beverages. This is supplemental nutrition assistance. Cigarettes are not nutritional assistance. A lot of the foods on there are lobbied for so that they can sell product. This is about using a system. That's the systemic problem.
It was designed to give low-income families access to nutritious and healthy food.
Right. But then you add the waste and fraud. And in Florida, they've done a number of, shall we say, stings on this, where they go out and they go up. There are people that go into stores and they just simply transact and give them the cash. The waste and fraud is there. Representative.
That's how you can buy liquor, because right now you can't use food stamps to buy liquor.
Right, so you don't swipe it.
But if you can swipe your card and get cash back, then you can use the cash for whatever you want, including an iPad. Let me get Julie to weigh in.
Well, first and foremost, you're not allowed to spend it on liquor or iPads or anything else. So it's not that the food stamp program.
You are allowed cigarettes, though.
You're not allowed cigarettes.
You're not allowed cigarettes?
Okay. You're not allowed hot food, cigarettes, any of the vices, so-called, even hot food, even food that you eat in store, you're not allowed to buy. So I can't go to, Whole Foods and buy, the
rotisserie chicken.
Right. You can't do rotisserie chicken, actually. Not allowed.
That's crazy.
But it's not allowed. So, first and foremost, if you have people abusing the system and using their EBT cards to do that, that's not a problem with the food stamp program. That's a problem with crooks, and that's a problem with enforcement. However, having said that, if you're looking at this as a food stamp problem and you want to cut $30 billion or whatever he wants to cut from food stamps, that's going to go to the meat of the matter. That's going to cut really to the bone for a lot of these people who are dependent on it. You can't go ahead and say there's billions of dollars of waste and fraud here, and that, you've got 76% of the people on food stamps today are either kids or the disabled or seniors. Yes, that's a statistic.
Your numbers are
wrong. But let me ask you this, David. Is it possible to regulate bad behavior in this way? I mean, I know that it was designed, again, to give low-income families access to nutrition and healthy food. But do you feel at all like Mayor Bloomberg in saying you shouldn't be able to use it at the corner store because the corner store doesn't sell healthy food and all people buy there is the full soda, full sugar, Coca-Colas?
Right. First of all, this isn't about hurting the poor. In fact, if you make it a more solvent program by weeding out these problems, you can help those that need it. The over 47%, not 76, that are the children that are on SNAP. And the fact that it's over 50 million Americans.
Disabled.
Julie, you obviously didn't study the issue because your numbers are completely wrong, and I have. We did a special on this on Hannity, Boomtown 2, on this industry and what it is. What we have here is the ability, think of your ATM card, Megan. Mm-hmm. You can process a transaction. The bank knows what you did. It tells you your balance. It charges you a fee. Mm-hmm. You can program EBT cards not to accept goods. And by the way, one of the
What do you mean? What does that mean?
In other words, you can't buy cigarettes if you swipe it, if it's cigarettes is on the shopping.
So they can control this if they want to.
They can control this electronically, very possible. On top of that, what they also do is they don't get nutrition the right way in how they, shall we say, apportion the foods. You can buy what's called off brands, which have now gotten a lot better, of, say, a box of cereal and get more out of that box of cereal than you can out of that brand at a higher cost. Therefore, more food for the family.
Let me just jump in, because just to contradict my own question to David, Mayor Bloomberg was trying to regulate folks who are paying out of pocket for what they want.
Right.
This is that the federal government gives, and it can set limits on what it gives.
Well,
and so why shouldn't they be more aggressive about guarding? They're giving our money. I mean, if they're using our money, why shouldn't they be more aggressive about saying, we're sorry, but we're not going to allow you to transfer it into cash such that it gets used on alcohol or strip joints or casinos or cigarettes.
But what you're talking about now is illegal already. And if people are doing it,
but we're not policing it.
We should be policing it. It should be absolutely policed. But what you're talking about is cutting money from the program. If you want to add money for enforcement, that's a whole different issue. We should enforce it.
Well, how does Thune think cutting money is going to get to the heart of the problem?
Well, because I think the problem for Thune and a lot of these Republicans is that they actually don't want the food stamp program to begin with in the first place. They don't. They want to eradicate it altogether.
Completely false.
And so let me finish my thought, though, David. I gave you a chance to speak. And so at the end of the day, if you want to get rid of the food stamp program altogether, you're going to look at these straw men of fraud and waste. But look, there is absolutely fraud and waste in every program, but you cannot start cutting billions from people who truly need it for true nutrition.
Speak to that point.
Say that.
First of all, you're completely wrong. It's not about cutting off the program for people. And by the way, every single time, and you can look this up, that the states that have wanted to limit what's being bought to nutritional programs has brought it to the USDA. 100% of the time, the USDA has voted against doing this and shut the states down. Julie's trying to make it a kid's argument. We have a problem with a systemic argument with waste and fraud. She's also completely wrong because you can go from state to state and find where they can buy products that should not be on the list that are not nutritional. You really ought to study the issue more.
I really have, David.
All right.
Thanks for pointing out.
Well, there's no reason to be mean to poor Julie.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but we have to be accurate.
You're completely inaccurate. 76%.
All right. We're agree to disagree. Thank you both.